You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Good evening and welcome to Overgrow the Radio. I got a little stutter there in the beginning. How are you, Holly G?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
We're back in the Mile High, and I was joking that I'm still a hippie in a tie. One more month.
With a calendar.
Yeah, day planner.
He's organized now.
Our first guest, we'll bring him in a minute. He was joking with me a minute ago about one of my Facebook statuses this week, that I now own a tie rack and a day planner, man, and that's, for me, that's different because I own like 20 ties now. Granted, I'm a hippie, so I go to Goodwill and pay $1.99 because that's how you roll, you know.
Pop the tags.
Well, yeah, why are you going to pay big dollars when you can get the same thing for $1.99? I'm going to throw these dress clothes away in a month anyway and go back to long hair and enjoying life.
And all the money goes towards the nonprofit, so.
Absolutely.
It's good to give back.
I've always loved thrift stores for everything.
Thrift shop.
Yeah, I never, like when I started looking for suits, I was like, yeah, do I really want to go spend $600 on a suit I'll wear like twice after this? No. And a friend's like, well, you should go to Goodwill. And I'm like, I'm not buying clothes from Goodwill. I mean, a couch, a table, whatever, that's cool. But clothes, really? So I went in, like, one out of curiosity, and I bought a few things from there since then. And everything's, like, brand new that I've found. I mean, granted, it's like Ross, where you have to, like, sift through the racks like a crazy, day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday shopping person.
But there could be a solid gold piece in there. Ooh. You never know.
There's that factor too, I've read articles in my lifetime of people finding stuff in places unexpectedly.
Or there could be that prized pair of pants.
Yeah. So anyway, the reason I'm going there, I guess, is the task force. I don't think I want to talk about that first because it's kind of lame, and I've been sitting in meetings all week, and it's boring. And we're going to get into that in a minute. Things. Yeah, we've got an announcement that I totally spaced on last week. Again this year, for the second time, we'll be at the first ever High Times Cup, broadcasting both days. iCannabis Radio will be. I won't be. Holly G, we're going to get to her in a second. She'll be there spinning fire, though.
We don't know about fire. We did some non-fire last year. Some really cool contact juggling and lots of other really unique performances.
Wait a second. Were you in, like, the food court area?
There was a lot of us there last year. I think there was 5 of us, and we had one of our performers could have been in the area where people were smoking, spinning poi.
I flew in from DC at like 2 a.m. and was dabbing at 8 a.m. in the tent.
That was a hazy event. Oh my gosh.
Oh God, I'm trying to picture it right now.
Whoa.
So what's going to happen this year is it's going to be more haze.
Yes, lots of haze.
Overgrow the Radio will be there on the 21st. We'll be there in the afternoon. I think we start broadcasting each day at about noon.
Broadcasting live.
I'm not sure exactly what time the doors open. I think last year it was 11.
Yeah, right before lunchtime.
Yeah, I made sure to hit the dab tent way early.
Till 7
p.m. 2 or 3 times, and then I went to work while everyone else dabbed.
Yeah, the room where there was no dabbing going on, where the serious vendors were, there was not many people in there.
Where was that? I don't think
that's where we were performing the most, and it was pretty empty.
That's why we didn't cross paths.
Yeah.
Weird. So, yeah, we'll be out at the High Times Cup April 20th and 21st. We'll just segue right into my event out in D.C. I don't know personally if I'll be there or not with everything going on this year. I've got a lot of hats I'm wearing these days, so it just kind of depends on where I'm at in the next month or so. And but we will be there. We'll be at Lafayette Park. We'll be marching down from the Washington Monument to Lafayette Park starting at about 10 in the morning. Overgrow the government. This will be our 3rd year. Wow.
Awesome.
Happy birthday, Overgrow. I've put it in very capable hands this year of Rebecca Forbes from the Carolina Cannabis Coalition. And if I got that wrong, she can smack me. It might be North Carolina. But yeah, she rocks. She's my right hand. She is my assistant director for Overgrow, and it's always a good time. A lot of speakers come out from LEAP, MPP, different places. And we have music normally. But the Sylvan Theater is usually where we're at, and apparently for the next year they're going to do some facelifting on the Washington Monument in the theater. So we've sacrificed. So we're going to go back to where our first one was, right beside the White House. And it's actually special because we're bringing Mike Hyde back. And as a lot of people know, Cashy passed away this year. And Mike's first big public speech, if you will, was at our event in D.C. So it's, it's sad and it's monumental at the same time. It's Cashy Hyde Day in D.C. this 420.
And he's, making sure the spirit lives on. It is living on in all of us. So it's good to have him out and speaking and doing interviews. Every day.
And we're doing really well with segues tonight because I mentioned a couple weeks ago maybe that Mike called me and, as I said earlier, I'm kind of busy these days, but you don't say no to the Cash Hyde Foundation. It's hard to do. They've become like family to me, and we're relaunching some stuff here in the near future. We're going to focus as a whole foundation on just a few states, and we're really going to concentrate on fundraising, the bigger MMJ states. So I'm the Colorado director, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit tonight because I need help. I have, with Overgrow, what I've done is I have people sporadically placed throughout the country in each region. And those are my key people, and it's their job to promote us, to get people to D.C., to get sponsors, to hold events and do local action type thing. So I kind of want to structure the foundation here in Colorado the same way. We have our first conference call Sunday night, and what I'm looking for is really key people in the Northwest, in the Southwest. I have a person in Crested Butte, so more out Durango way, down Pueblo way, and then up north, Fort Collins, that area. So if anybody out there listening, or if anyone knows anyone that's trustworthy and motivated and wants to help fight cancer in kids and just help kids in general, what they do, a big part of what they do is they take these reggae runners around to all these hospitals. And I guess, I had back surgery, so I was laid up for almost 6 months. So I know what it's like to be bedridden, per se, and it's not easy. And to be able, when you're hooked up to an IV as a little kid in the hospital and you can't get out of bed, because you have that IV pole, it's got to be hard. You're a kid. You want to play. So they came up with the idea, I guess a couple of years ago now, to rig up the IV pole and paint these little, the little plastic kids' cars.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. That's what they're calling reggae runners.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They paint them up and probably throw some Cashy logos. They do throw Cashy logos in the pole, and it gets the kids out of bed. It gives them a chance to enjoy life a little bit.
Yeah.
And
that sounds awesome.
Anyone who's been through an ordeal with a sick child or family member in general, I think healing, 90% of it is the rest of life. It's not your medication. It's not the surgery. It's what you do around that. Absolutely. The way you live and demeanor. And when you're stuck in bed all day, it sucks.
It's depressing.
So there is stuff in the task force we need to talk about. We're going to get to some of it now, and then maybe later in the second hour we'll talk about more. There's 5 groups. For the people out of state, I always try to do a quick overview, and then each week we do a little update because I get to sit in these fun meetings. And I'll try to hit on key issues and keep it really short. But the governor appointed 24 people for the main task force. The 24 people then branched off into subgroups. And each subgroup, there's 5, which I don't understand. So all 24 aren't heading subgroups. But there's 5 subgroups, and each one has 2 co-chairs from the main task force. So they vary. I mean, I think my group has like 15 or so people. The one today was like 11 or 12. It's not really an exact number. But, for overall, big picture, things are looking good. Early on, there were a lot of crazy things thrown up, like we want to drug test kids under 18 to get a driver's license. That obviously I stood up and talked about. Everything that's come up so far, I've pretty much stood up and talked about. And, I'm going to say I'm proud of myself because I'm not the most soft-spoken person or sometimes not the most diplomatic person. I've been known to speak my mind. And this is definitely a process where we all have to come together and just get this done, whether we agree or disagree. What I did start doing this week, there's some issues that I've had some fundamental problems with in the task force itself. And I've sat back for the first week, almost 2 weeks now, and watched these folks and watched their actions And I think a big responsibility that I'm taking on right now is, if you will, for in layman's terms, calling people out. And when I say calling people out, I don't mean you're a prohibitionist, you need to get out of here. What I mean by that is, asking them about their stances, if it's a visible conflict, and confronting that and questioning whether they feel they're going to be an asset to the process, because we have a very limited amount of time. So just to give everyone listening, the bankers are represented on one of the groups. This is tax and civil issues is the subgroup that I'm talking about. There's a guy, Don Childers, who I'll give him props. He's made some very good points along the way. And Tamara Ward, she's a no on 64 person, and that's about all I know about her.
Too late now.
Yeah, you lost. Sorry.
Sorry.
They both signed off. Well, she's from Colorado Concern, and Don is from CBA, Colorado Bankers Association. And I joked with a friend yesterday that it was really scary doing this because bankers kill people. They're scary. Anyway, they both signed off on the letter to the feds saying, hey, come arrest us, come get us. So I see that personally as a direct conflict of interest. Governor Hickenlooper does not agree with us on that, But the problem with that, and the reason that I felt I had to address it, is I represent them, they represent me. All of our actions collectively right now are being looked at across the globe. If one of us is being silly, then a lot of us look bad. So I have to take that stand. It's a moral fiber.
Right.
So basically what I told him is, I questioned, the fact that they signed the letter and said that I thought it was a direct conflict, and asked that either they step down for someone more apt for the seat, or they explain publicly how they feel they'd be an asset to continue. And I think that's fair. If I felt that about myself, if I didn't feel like I was being conducive and productive to the process, I wouldn't be sitting there. Believe me, my back does not like sitting in a chair for 4 hours at all. So.
Oh, no, I was going to say I couldn't do that either.
Oh, it's rough.
Unless you could get your back right during the meeting.
No comment. I am strictly professional. Don't you see the tie?
I believe it.
The only other person actually is on the main task force, Dr. Chris Urbina. And forgive me if I mispronounce that, but he is the head of our health department, the CDPHE. CDPHE. There you go. Anyway, he has done good things in his life too, I'll give him that. But at the same time, I've watched him sit there, and anytime someone says anything about cannabis that's positive, they get cut off. Anytime there's negative stuff being preached by the drug counselors in his group, boy, they can just go on and on and on. And I really got a kick out of me confronting him because he looked at the ground the whole time. And, if nothing else, I know these people aren't going to step down, but if nothing else, at least they know that people see this, that they are transparent. So, Holly, I have called you Heidi like 4 times tonight, and you can drop kick me in my teeth. I don't know why.
I am Swedish tonight.
You are?
Hey.
My accents are horrible. That's laughable. Anyway, there's a couple clubs that have opened up, and I'm all for them. I've actually stood up for them in multiple groups at this point, including my own. We've addressed it. We've talked about it, and I think private clubs are going to get the pass. There's really nothing they can do.
No, there's already several of them going, and a few attempts too, which is great. It's just more moving towards the direction we want to go.
The only thing they can do is zoning. So the way that I see it, yeah, exactly. And if you're in a commercial zone, I think you're good. Industrial, commercial,
right?
As long as you're not in a neighborhood. It's a constitutional to give away, to receive, to smoke. So it's private property.
And I did hear that some counties are banning the legalization in their county, kind of like they did when the medical cannabis became legal. Some counties did try to do that too, like Larimer.
Well, I may have moved, but I'm still an El Paso County resident. I still sit on the Colorado Springs Medical Cannabis Council, and I was there for all of the ban hearings, and they're one of those aforementioned counties.
They are. Is that Adams County?
I'm going to give you my perspective really quick, and Sam's going to get mad at me because we're going to go right through our commercial. But I tried to reason with them, and these people who are doing this, and if there happens to be one listening to my show, our show, I'm calling it my show because I have a really sad announcement here in a little bit. But what you're banning right now is money. That's all you're banning. You're banning the ability to make money. Cannabis is here. Every person in your county has the right to grow 6 plants that's over the age of 21.
Yep.
They don't even have to be a Colorado resident so long as they're living there, if that makes sense. That was a little twisted, but it's true. Anyway, and possess up to an ounce on their person and their full harvest in their home, so they can have 3-4 pounds in their house, perfectly legal. So the other side to that is the home grows. You think you're helping your community, but what you're doing is you're getting people who may want the product and not want to drive and may not know how to grow, so they think they can grow, so they throw together this little grow in their basement. They throw some wires up, splice some extension cords. Next thing you know, your house is burning down and your neighbor's house is burning down because someone didn't know what they're doing. I think Fort Collins learned their lesson. I think that's the prime example to look at there before you jump the gun and think about banning. And real quick before we do go to commercial, because we didn't get to any other news, Greenwood Village, I used to stay there when I was up here during the week. They banned, their chief of police is the head of the Colorado Chief of Police Association. He sits in one of the groups. And they banned cannabis anywhere in their city, anywhere on city property. So that means if you're driving through Greenwood Village, they can technically arrest you right now.
Or Westminster. Westminster's another one of those.
Really?
They had a shop there. Remember, we talked about it a few shows ago. It was, I can't remember what it was called, but it was right in the middle of Westminster, and it was just a little house that you could go and smoke in. I don't know if it's still there. I'm curious to know, but I imagine since they said no on.
Well, did they ban it? Did they ban it on? I mean, like the only one I've heard of is Greenwood that actually really said nowhere.
Yeah, as far as I've heard,
crazy.
Westminster has said also no shops. So maybe driving through it's not going to be as risky, but there's not going to be any stores or shops or anything
right.
like that. So.
Well, the thing of it is it's a constitutional right, and all that Greenwood Village did was open themselves up to lawsuits. So what we're going to do is open ourselves up to our sponsors and give back. We'll be right back on Overgrow the Radio. Peace.
The law offices of Edson Maton and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our two locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
That Mad Hatter Smoke Shop has everything from space glass to butane and butane accessories, I tell you what. Located at 6091 West Colfax in Lakewood, and now at 2615 Walnut Street in Denver. Ah! God damn it, Reclaim, put your pants back on.
And I think we're back on Overgrow the Radio. And
We're back.
Meant to let Holly G do that, but our commercials were a little shorter than we thought.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. So I have to do something real quick. Holly has to leave us. She'll be in from time to time, but she has to be in the mountains to work. She's got some enterprises that she's working on, and I respect that.
I'll still be here a couple times a month.
Absolutely.
Say hello.
And we'll always get you in here to say hello. We've formed a little family here between Sam, her, and I, so we will absolutely miss her and her smiley face every week. We've got a couple potential people in mind that we're working on, but it will be hard to replace you. And I just wanted to thank you for all of your hard work and all your...
Oh, it'll continue.
Yeah, good. Well, you can help promote us all the time.
Yes. I'll still be here just in many other ways.
Absolutely. There's plenty of work to do. We can keep you busy on
There's
the side.
always work to do in this industry.
You know?
Work to do.
Always. So we're actually joined by our first guest, who is from my old neck of the woods, Colorado. Well, I don't know that you actually live in the Springs.
No, Woodland Park.
Right on. Vince is, well, that's not even El Paso County then.
Our center's in El Paso County.
Okay, then I'll cut you a break. Then you know the hassle. Well, I know you know the hassles. We've had actually your owner, center owner's been on to tell us about your Dan May ordeal a couple months back. I've only met Lono a few times and been able to chat with him, but very respectable, upstanding guy.
Right.
I love the way he's not scared to speak his mind.
No, he's been actually very outspoken in the injustices that we're facing as a center. The scrutiny, when that center opened in that little community, the community couldn't stand us. They didn't want us around, But over the years, we've become one of the big stand-ins in that community. They love our building. It's a nice place. We're given to the community, and the community really they've warmed up to us. They really like us being around there.
Well, that's kind of, I wanted to start off, I was telling Holly before she was around that we used to talk a lot about the Springs because I'm pretty active there, and it was home. I lived in Manitou for 2 years and a year before that in the Springs, unfortunately, until I found the cool corner of town, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm all about it. I used to not tell where I lived. I used to say some little mountain town, but I moved to Denver, so now I can give it away. Manitou is beautiful. I love it. But you guys are just up the hill, just past Cascade, really.
Yeah, just a couple of minutes, maybe half mile
and
from
Eagle's
Cascade.
Nest, for those who don't know, we had one of the biggest fires probably ever in the nation. Definitely one of the most destructive.
Right. The Waldo fire started about an eighth of a mile directly across the street from our center.
My ex-girlfriend and I were sitting at my apartment that day, and actually her mom called, and within 2 hours, I had my place packed up, and that fire was huge just off the bat. And, I got evacuated. You guys got evacuated.
Yeah, I don't think people really realized how much this fire was in the city.
364
jumping house to
houses,
house.
I think. And I don't know if you've been up through the neighborhoods, but it's horrifying. It looks like a nuclear bomb.
You can see it from the highway.
And some of the mountain communities up behind it, you can't see. The behind the mountain shadows in that area up there behind Waldo Canyon, there's people that do live back there. Their houses weren't burned down per se, but the environment's just destroyed. It did a lot of damage all the way up to almost nearly Woodland Park.
Wow.
My friend Robin, her other half was actually on a show a couple weeks ago. It came within like 20 foot of their house, and they stopped it right there. But you guys, I wanted to ask because it came right down to the center.
Right.
And you guys, not so much fire. Well, you tell us what happened because I want to find out how you're recovering because I know you lost some crop. and
Right. Well, our grows are on site. We don't have a big warehouse or anything like that we grow in. The fire literally started almost across the street. You can stand at the front door and throw a rock and hit the burn zone, before it washed away.
Sure.
It was, we were evacuated in that center by 1:30 in the afternoon on Saturday afternoon so the fire department could use the parking lot. Wow. And then we were out for 9 days, so we did, we lost some crops. We managed to take care of a few things before we left, and to ensure that something may survive, and we only lost about 20% of our plants through that whole thing.
Nice.
And I was personally evacuated 5 days, and because I live above it.
Sure.
So
It's just because you were away from the plants that you lost it.
Right. They dried up and died up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So one of, of course it was, hurt me deeply, the fire in general. But my favorite donut place was is still
The
in
Donut
Woodland
Mill.
Park. Absolutely. So it became at least a weekly ritual to maybe have the munchies and cruise up the hill.
Correct.
And I had a problem with that because the road was closed. Were you able to actually get to the center even from your place to water or do anything?
That is a very touch and go subject that I really cannot discuss.
Not. Gotcha.
Let's just say we did what we had to
You
do
made it.
before we left to make sure everything was intact. I live above Green Mountain Falls. When the fire broke out, it looked like it was literally in my backyard. From my deck, you can see Manitou all the way to Woodland Park.
I'm sure the smell was pretty intense.
Right. There was a lot of, I had to leave a couple times. I was one of the few that stayed. I'm not really a big run from something. It's not my first rodeo with wildfires. I've lived in the mountains a long time. So I actually was evacuated on Wednesday when the fire did jump the road. I live in a community on Pikes Peak that's a one road in, one road out situation, and the sheriff pretty much forced me out of my home at that point in time. So.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's still, I don't think people realize the scope of this. The ridge is still closed, and it'll be closed for quite some time.
Yeah,
Forever.
lots of trees to take down.
It's an
Rampart
active
Range.
crime scene, too, at this
Absolutely.
time. They still haven't caught, it was an arson. It definitely was. Living up there, listening to the police scanners while it was all going on and listening to all the fires that were being set throughout the communities and stuff, and having friends that are in the fire department. And, some information does get out to where they believe that it was truly, all those fires were some form of arson.
Well, absolutely. We had like 14 fires within 2 weeks from
Right.
Park
Yeah,
down to
and
the
North Fork
Springs.
Fire, which is a little bit
Yeah.
further north of the
Yeah,
big fire.
Well, during the Waldo fire, what was interesting is there was a lot of spot fires being set all around Woodland Park, around 67 and Fremont
Right.
County, Canyon City, Cripple Creek, those areas. But Tuesday night, when it actually took out Colorado Springs, it almost chokes me up.
Absolutely.
The arson stopped. They didn't. There was no more spot fires popping up, and logic would lead you to believe that someone was doing something to keep public service busy, pretty much, and it got out of hand, and they burnt down a lot of people's homes.
One of the first hikes I ever went on was Waldo Canyon.
Beautiful canyon.
Love that hike. My again ex is involved in the Red Cross, so we monitored it very closely. Not to mention my house was at jeopardy. And remind me during the break, I've got photos that night that it came into town. We were out on nobody's gonna know, but 21st Street up on the hill there with
Right.
new developments.
By Gold Hill.
Absolutely, Gold Hill
Right.
Police Station right there. So we were in that area and able to look straight across, and the winds, it picked up, and you could watch it push it right down the hill and then shift to the south. I mean, just plain as day. I've got the time-lapse photos of it.
Oh, it was horrific.
And I did. I cried like a baby. I cried multiple times. Still, I'm like you.
Yeah.
It still hurts me.
Well, the Flying W Ranch was a huge loss to the Colorado Springs community. That ranch has been around since before Colorado Springs was Colorado Springs. I don't know
People
how.
want to stay when there's no view now. And
True, and insurance companies are forcing people to rebuild on their foundations. There's a lot of. I have a friend that lost a house in Mountain Shadows. It burnt to the ground. He lost everything. He just got a permission to build about 3 weeks ago. I mean, this fire's been gone 7 months, and he just now got a permission to build his new home. He's been living in a motel ever since. So it still affects a lot of citizens in that community, and it seems that people have kind of brushed it off. It's gone. It's not there anymore. And you know how it's such a sad sight to see that people, when they drive down Centennial Boulevard or any of those streets, they now turn to the right and they don't look to the left anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, man, and honestly, it took me at least a month to drive back up the canyon once they opened it, and it still, I have a hard time looking up. I'm one of those people. Like when I'm coming that way, I try to look to Pike's side.
Right.
you can
because
see
it's
it
green.
from far and wide.
Right. It changed our view forever,
Yeah.
definitely. And that was that was the interesting thing. I was able to get back in. Even the owners of the center weren't able to get back in after the evacuation was lifted on Sunday. They let residents in at 9, and everybody else can come in at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I got in there, and there were still spot fires burning in the trees and things like. They were still working the fire. It was still active, and it was very disconcerting.
Well, and they still have a fairly decent-sized staff in the area. You know, I notice when I'm there, the Days Inn right there in Manitou,
right.
There's still a lot of forest trucks in that parking lot.
Right. You know,
a couple weeks ago, though.
You know, the Coalition for the Upper South Platte has been doing a lot of work up there as far as taking care of some of the mitigation that needs to be done. They're offering engineer services for residents.
Tell us, what do you know about them? Are they a nonprofit?
Pretty much. Yeah, it's the Coalition for the Upper South Platte. It's a nonprofit organization. I don't know a whole lot about them,
sure.
But they are offering tremendous services, and we've been seeing a lot of volunteers up on the hillside taking care of, you know, the immediate flood threats.
Well, I was just going to suggest to folks who are listening, again, locally, that want to help out or even, you know, donate from wherever. It's such a great cause. I mean, what you're talking about right now, the mitigation that they're doing, is essential for for you guys. For my friend Robin, she now has a river beside her house, and if they don't fix it, it's soon going to be her house.
Well, for the safety of the public. You know, we
absolutely.
saw the second landslide come down. We witnessed it, and it came down with such velocity. It had full trees in it, boulders. You know, it had the culvert from the road that it washed out, and it literally took a vehicle out on the highway and buried it in mud. So it's not just a problem with, you know, the businesses and the people that live around there. It's just the average tourists coming up the pass.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the
Just
house
to look
behind
at it.
hers, they can't live in it because
Right.
it literally is in a riverbed now and sliding down the hill slowly.
True.
It's horrible.
Oh, I know people up there that really they love they're like the firefighters. They saved my house, but the flood took it out.
Yeah.
So
we'll
I
just
didn't know
plug.
about
We got
that.
sidetracked. We're good at that. We're going to take a break right now. But before we go, I just want to plug again. You know what? Say the name of the organization.
it's
for
the
me
Eagles
one time.
Nest Wellness Center on
Well,
Cascade.
no, the upper.
Oh, CUSP, Coalition for the
CUSP.
Upper South Platte, correct.
I knew the cusp part, but I wanted the full.
Right.
So I encourage folks to reach out to them, throw them a few dollars, or if you're in the area, go throw some logs. Hell, before I had a bad back, I used to do trail maintenance all the time.
Oh,
It's not a
correct.
big deal.
Bring your chainsaw.
They definitely have. You know, it was after the Hayman fire. I planted about 1,000 trees. They get into the. You can join with the Forest Service. There's a lot of programs that are going to be popping up here in the next couple of years for restoration. They're going to need people to spread wildflower seed, plant trees. You know, just generally try and get the area back to a substantial, sustainable forest again.
Very good. We'll do what we can to keep promoting it, and I encourage people to also donate to the Red Cross. I know it's a bigger organization, but really I've seen them from the inside, and I see the good work they do. You know, I used to be anti-big organizations, but that's one of the exceptions, I think.
I'll tell you, when you're in a disaster and you're evacuated from your home and you don't have anywhere to go, the Red Cross really,
They hook you up.
yeah, it's a relief, you know. So yeah, the Red Cross is a very good
They
organization
give you
to donate
food,
to.
they give you money, they put you in a hotel. You know, if it's long term, they work it out. So
Right.
again, we'll be right back. We got to go pay some bills, so stick with us on iCannabis Radio's Overgrow the Radio. Peace.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706. Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. runongrass.com.
Interested in the amazing benefits of CBD? Check out Dixie X Hemp CBD Wellness Products at www.dixiex.com.
The law offices of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
I think we're back on Overgrow the Radio. My co-host ran away. I was going to make her bring us back in, so I was caught a little bit off guard. Welcome back, Mr. Vince. How are you?
Good.
We got really sidetracked. I brought you up tonight. What I want to do, and I'm going to do in the next few months is highlight some patient stories. And I wanted to do that with you. Obviously, maybe as a lot of us did, maybe you started, using cannabis recreationally or tried it as a kid. I know I did. I'm not scared to admit that.
No.
Our presidents admit that, so I think we're okay. And, I'll let you jump in and tell us, what happened that made you realize it had medicinal value.
True. I was a cannabis marijuana user since way back. I even grew. Really never, I had watched things and read things back in the early 90s and stuff about medicinal use and this and that. Never really thought much about it. It was at that time just what it was. It was my choice.
Sure.
I love marijuana.
You were intelligent enough to choose a safer alternative to alcohol.
Right. I'm not a big drinker. So with that's just being a long story short, I was coming home from work one day and on the highway and got hit by a car doing about 80 miles an hour. And coincidentally, I ended up in the hospital with a lot of injuries. This person here helped me out with a lot of that. Had bone grafts done.
You can introduce that person. I didn't know she wanted to be
No,
introduced.
it's all good. But I had 7 orthopedic surgeries, fractured back, legs, ankles, finger, you name it. Something was broken, part of my body. I'm allergic to codeine. Anything that's codeine makes me break out in hives. I get extremely sick. And so the only thing they could resort to at that point for pain control was the opiate-style drugs, morphine, Dilaudid, Demerol, those type of drugs. So over the course of 2 years of going through all the surgeries, therapy, physical therapy, I developed a raging painkiller addiction. That's where it was at. I was completely depressed. They had me on more antidepressants than you could shake a stick at.
I just want to ask, did they, because I have similar, not nearly as severe, I had a failed back surgery, not 7 surgeries, but did they start off by giving you the antidepressants and claim it would help like your nerve pain and things of that nature?
Right. That was the Neurontin and things like that was a big
absolutely.
one. Depakote. Depakote almost made me a diabetic. I gained about 70 pounds in 3 months because I'm immobile at that point, And they practically ruined my life with antidepressants, and the drugs. But I was lucky enough to meet this doctor. I was actually a case study through the whole thing from the head injury that I had. I had amnesia, lots of memory problems, things like that. So I volunteered to kind of save some medical bills because they eventually totaled up to $297,000.
Wow.
To be kind of a case study in certain things like pain control for shoulder surgeries, head injuries, things like that. Well, I met a doctor that was a migraine specialist because I literally lived with a migraine headache. I carried Imitrex shots. I took all kinds of maintenance drugs called like Effexor, things like that. And this doctor was he was an older guy. He's retired now. But he was a forward-thinking doctor. He was a little different than all the rest that I had came across. He really wasn't into prescribing drugs. He didn't really speak much about drugs, and he really wasn't a big fan of them. But he did realize that there is a place for them in society.
Sure.
But he believed also that a lot of these drugs are well overused. And he started to explain to me about things that started to make sense about how opiates take over the brain completely. They hold your serotonin hostage. Therefore, you're clinically depressed. The opiates also do another thing to the brain which suppresses natural pain control. Every human has it. And when you take a lot of opiates, those things go away. And then you need more pain medication to take care of it and more antidepressants to counter the serotonin levels. So this guy, one day I went into his office and I literally shook him. I'm like, you've got to do something. I can't do this anymore. And he never prescribed marijuana to anybody or recommended it. But he said, I've been reading about this. I'm really interested in it, and I would like you to try it. There's a few places in town. This was back when things really weren't happening. I mean, the only edible you could get at that time was a can of brownie.
Right.
Or something
and that's
like.
if you knew the right guy.
Right.
The owner of Can of Brownie.
Exactly. Well, I'd had some growing experience, so I started growing my own marijuana and experiencing with different things. Making the can of butter was obviously the first route. Well, I realized that edibles did work because that was one of the things I said to him. Was like, I've smoked marijuana half my life. I actually smoked it before I came to see you. Mm-hmm. But the pain control, I'm still in pain. And when you're a chronic pain patient, it doesn't come down to pain freedom. You're always going to have pain. It's how your brain deals with the pain. And for me, the edibles give me an opportunity to sleep at night, so I get rest. If I can consume during, certain times of the day, it helps with the anxiety from the PTSD that I experienced from that. It doesn't take away pain; it makes it manageable, and that, to me, is the healthy way. Because ever since I've been opiate free for several years.
Congrats.
Thank you. And
I'm actually not. I still take one or two pills to sort of balance it.
Well, I had a surgery in February, and it was a major one. I had to take Dilaudid immediately after, for pain. But it was an interesting thing. I felt myself falling back into those old patterns within like 3 days on this drug. And I literally threw him down the toilet. I'm like, I'm done. I don't care how much pain I'm in. I don't want that addiction again in my life. I'm done with it. And being a grower at a center and a member, I have had a lot of experience with all the different types of edibles out there. And I've focused in on a couple of high strength edibles that are really have a lot of CBDs and CBNs in them and things. Not so much THC edibles.
Sure.
And that managed every bit of it,
We always push our sponsors, but even people who don't use cannabis are getting so many benefits from the different compounds, the CBDs, the CBNs, the lines that like Dixie and different
topicals and
it's amazing.
It's nice to be able to educate people too, because a lot of people don't know that there's other things in cannabis than THC.
True.
So it's nice to have access to that, and all over the country, you don't have to have a cannabis state to get CBDs.
Right. And the nice thing about our center is we have a lot of people that our clientele is my age and above for the most part. And they are cancer patients. They are pain patients. And you see just small miracles with this drug. And I do call it a drug because it is a drug. We had a cancer patient come in that could not gain weight. And then after 30 days of being on this program, what we had recommended he should do, he gained 20 pounds nearly. I mean, for a cancer patient fighting for his life, gaining weight and sleeping at night is the biggest battle they have.
Huge.
Right.
Yeah, that's what helped. I remember talking to Mike Hyde. When he first started administering it to Kashi, the oil, he started gaining weight and eating.
Well, yeah, when
that's what they noticed.
When he put, and again, this is something that gets me kind of choked up, but when he had it with the pharmaceuticals, the doctor's like, okay, he's dying. Mike put oil in his tube. He was a caregiver at the time. Kashi had not eaten in 41 days. The kid was 2 years old. Had been through intensive chemotherapy at the time, and amazingly, he ate for the first time. He ate like a piece of cheese at first, a couple bites, you know.
The oil is
The
amazing.
next day, he was eating, or a couple days later maybe, he was eating like a full meal.
It's incredible. It's helping so many people out there with diseases like cancer and, you know, any stomach issues.
Right.
I mean, you can eat like within 10 minutes of, you know, medicating.
You know, what's interesting is I used one time, I had the stomach flu, and I was, you know, had the vomiting and everything that goes along with it. And I actually took some capsules of, you know, the Rick Simpson oil method, and it stopped all the stomach seizures that I was having.
Well, we're going to talk a little more with you. We got to take one more break, but we're going to talk a little bit more about like concentrates, because I want to, you know, like you mentioned your constant migraines. I want to get into a little more of what helps you with your ailments. Because a lot of folks, you know, if you're living in like Mississippi, you're just getting high. You don't know the different components.
Correct.
Right. Like someone in our chat said
so
in
we
Illinois.
like to talk to them. Yay. Welcome. I'm from
Yeah,
Illinois.
they have higher THC but no CBDs, so they need the CBDs.
Well, we have a very large selection in our center. We have probably 40 different types of edibles. We really focus on the patient. And when someone walks in, it's kind of interesting. It's had the stereotypical reefer madness implant in their brain for so many years. They walk in there and like, oh my God, there is just so much here. What does this do? What does that do? You know, and it's like it's interesting how people will explore their new options. You know,
it's like a candy shop.
So I forgot real quick before we go to break, and I'm gonna do this from memory because I don't have them written down tonight. We need to thank our sponsors.
Yes, thank you.
Big Red's Bait in Illinois. You can actually get CBD products at one of our sponsors' website, and they will ship them cross country to you. It's perfectly legal. Visit DixieX.com. We love the folks at Dixie. They'll be in on the 21st.
Dixie
for the next
Botanicals,
segment.
too.
Mr. Tripp will be in to cause some trouble with me and talk some trash. And, you know, again, you can get the hemp products around the world, so do so. Gosh, help
Get
me
healthy.
out. Green Monster Glass. Call Daryl.
Yes.
He's got glass. It's reasonable. If you're a dispensary owner, you can stock a shelf. Independent Records. We love independent. Talked to Judy, gave her an update on what's going on. The woman's an inspiration to me.
They also have pipes.
They do. They have glass. They have tapes. They have CDs. They have movies. They have
Records.
Cassette tapes. They also have like 9 locations in Colorado. In Dispensary, one of my favorite dispensaries down in the Springs.
The Indispensary.
The Indispensary. And then we've got, I'm going to let you say the second half of this one, but I'll say Crested Butte Wellness Center. And Craig...
Apothecary.
Yes, because I can't say
With
that
Miss
word
Jessica
to save my life. She'll be down to see me in a couple days, and we're going to get her back on the air with us sometime. We enjoy having her in. I feel like I'm missing someone.
If we are, we love you still, and we will mention you later in the show.
Absolutely, and your commercials are coming up right now anyway, so we'll be right back.
Stay
on
tuned.
Overgrow the Radio. Peace.
The law offices of Etzen, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenetzen.com.
Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Dispensary in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our 2 locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
Always be kind to each other.
Dixie Elixirs and Edibles, the nation's premier infused product manufacturers, brings you the newest in hemp CBD wellness products, Dixie X. Derived from CBD for medicinal hemp, this non-psychoactive cannabinoid provides the medicinal effects of cannabis, but without the high. Join the Dixie X revolution today at www.dixiex.com. Or like us on Facebook, Dixie X or Dixie Elixirs.
That Mad Hatter Smoke Shop has everything from space glass to butane and butane accessories, I tell you what. Located at 6091 West Colfax in Lakewood and now at 2615 Walnut Street in Denver. God damn it, Reclaim, put your pants back on.
The Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance of the cannabis sativa plant. You can find the latest issue of the Hemp Connoisseur at more than 200 7-Elevens, your favorite dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Do you consider yourself a cannabis connoisseur? Then come be a part of the Hemp Connoisseur's first cannabis championship. Visit us at thcmag.com for info on how to sample the best medicine Colorado has to offer.
And we're back here on Overgrow the Radio on iCannabisRadio.com. I'm Holly G, and I'm here with Stickman. How's it going, everybody? And we're here just talking. Well, we actually just had a really in-depth conversation about the Waldo Canyon fire, which is, something that everybody needs to be aware of. And
we got hit hard in Colorado this year, all over the state.
Yeah, the North Fork fire is going through the same thing because my cousin lives up in the mountains outside of Littleton, right. And that's he has some friends that did lose their lives in the fire, and lots of homes too.
There is actually one fire still smoldering in Colorado. I believe it's up in the Rocky Mountain National Forest. That one that's
outside of Fort Collins.
Yeah, they just let that one go because it wasn't habitated, if you will.
Right, so. And it's still smoldering as of, I saw it on the news like 2 days ago. Yeah.
Well, that always kills me, though, when they do that, and nothing against firefighters. God knows I love them now after what we went through. But that being said, that whoever makes the decisions, when they just let fires go like that, and call me a hippie, but there's animals that live there.
Right.
It's their home.
There's lots of animals, birds, squirrels.
Well, it boils down to a lot of it is federal red tape and money and funding. There is not any proper forest mitigation going on in Colorado. If you take the Hayman fire, for example, the reason that fire burned so fast, so hot, and so long was the beetle killed trees that still stood, and through government red tape, they have to stand for so long. They have to be cut down and chopped up and disposed of this certain way. And then the local woodcutters can't pull permits to go in and get those trees to sell them to people that actually heat their homes with it. Sure. So it creates a giant fire hazard. And then you end up with...
And you don't really want to burn that in your...
Well, no, beetle kill trees are fine to burn.
Beetle kill,
right.
Yeah.
The problem is if they don't harvest them soon enough, they do become unusable. And then there's just kindling standing in the woods.
Yeah,
and
fire hazard.
It's bad forest management. Federal funding is really where it's all at.
Because we have to go to war and spend money overseas.
Correct.
But my God, that's a whole other show. I don't even know that I've went that route yet. I think with one of our future shows, my future shows, I should do that. I've got a lot of bitching to do about our overseas wars and our spending habits.
Right.
Much work to be done.
So let's jump back in. We were kind of telling, for anyone who just joined us, I'm got to make that transition. It's killing me for now. Right. But anyway, we're trying to focus a little bit on patients and patient stories. And I know Vince, I've had other members of his business on, if you will. I used to live a couple miles up the road. Used to go buy doobies from you guys on my way down the hill,
At the old Eagle's Nest.
Because that's the way it is in Colorado. If you need a doobie on your way home, surely there's a dispensary out in the woods somewhere you can find. But yeah, you never run out here. It's great. Anyway, I love you guys up there. You've got a beautiful place.
Thanks.
As we talked about in the first segment, the fire, it's awesome that you're still there.
Oh, we're so lucky. We're blessed, actually.
To jump back in with your story, though, we share a lot of similarities, and I wanted to talk a little bit before we run out of time really quick about, you mentioned, per se, that you have a constant migraine.
Right.
I know, I know a lot of science, and you know a lot of science, but some of our listeners may not. Did you see a correlation when you started using more of a concentrated dose? Did that help the migraines?
Oh, it does. When you have, I don't know about yours, but I know my migraines, when I get them full blown, they're incapacitating.
Sure.
And actually medicating via smoking or vaporizing is almost impossible.
Sure.
The only way I can really take care of it at that point is the oil, through large dose of oil, through a capsule, or just right into my mouth. And that usually gets it to the point to where I can actually get down an edible and some, it's saying a little bit of caffeine and a little bit of ibuprofen, and hopefully that takes care of it. I mean, still there's times where you do end up in an ER because 2 days later you just have to take care of it. You know, you're dehydrated and very sick from it.
Well, I'm a huge proponent for oil. I use it for my pain.
Right.
I use it in the morning and then again at night. And I personally, I don't get migraines. I use it for pain, but the reason I was curious is I've heard that over and over in these studies about how it prevents like headaches.
It does. Mine have reduced over the years. I no longer carry an Imitrex shot on my person. I no longer have migraine meds around the house, and that's just pretty much through some daily usage of that oil. It's done a lot of things for me. The whole cannabis industry, it opened up so many doors for me because after I was injured, I was 63% disabled. I was told to never work again, but yet in this industry, I work. I'm still a productive member of society. And what's neat about it is I'm turning it around and giving what was given to me back to a lot of other people.
See, I struggle with that. I mean, I stay as busy as you all know as I possibly can, but I've really, in this process with the task force, I come home at night and I'm flat on my back. I
Right.
realize it makes me realize my capability and the fact that going back and sitting in a chair 8 hours a day or standing behind a table
Right.
8 hours a day probably won't work for me. Down the road I would, because that's the struggle with me. Like I sometimes don't feel like I'm being productive. Oh gosh, we got a caller.
We have a caller.
Let's answer.
Yeah.
Why not? Hello, caller.
You're on Overgrow the Radio.
Live.
Hey.
Who is this?
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Are you still talking about the cannabis oil?
We are.
Yes. Can you tell me what bad side effects there are to that cannabis oil?
To the cannabis oil?
What bad side effects does the cannabis oil have?
Well, let me put out a disclaimer that we're not medical physicians, but
we can't, we can't give full medical advice.
I'll speak to my personal experience, and then Vince can do the same. I've used it for a little over a year, and it is versed, if you will, after the Rick Simpson oil. It's not made with butane. I believe it's
it's acetone.
CO2 is how they make it. I'm sorry, I had to think for a second. I've heard with the butane or the propane that there are more of headaches, actually.
Right.
That's one of the things. Because you really have to know what you're doing to make it. But once it's made and it's made properly, I really don't have any side effects. When when I first started using it, it is a very concentrated dose. You do want to very slowly work your way into it. Otherwise, you'll be sleeping.
Right. My experience was kind of like...
I'm only asking you this because I have been using it with my sister who has non-small cell lungs. The doctors are amazed because she did not do the chemotherapy. She did a half a round and then only went into the oil after that. And we've been doing this since the middle of August.
That's awesome.
They are amazed that the tumors are shrinking. It's just amazing, and I just want to know because the people don't understand how important it is that this medicine, which it is medicine, and I do believe that, can help people without the side effects.
Yes, ma'am. That's why we do this every week.
We hear that testimony
Can I ask
every
what
day.
part of the country you're in? And you don't have to give away your specific location.
No, the bill is coming up in February in North Carolina, and I am here.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
And I do follow Rick Simpson.
Very good.
Great.
Let me put you in touch real quick while I've got you on the air. Rebecca Forbes is a board member of mine with Overgrow the Government. She lives right there in North Carolina as well. You can find her through Facebook, actually, just Rebecca Forbes.
I do follow her on Facebook. I do. Yes.
Very good. You should get in touch with her because we always need help getting the word out, and it sounds like you have that motivation.
I do, and I do get the word out every day. I post something because I think, especially with it coming up here now, the people need to know how important it is to have an alternative medicine, especially when the people don't have insurance.
Well, we collectively have our fingers crossed for every state right now with a ballot measure or legislation being heard. There's a lot of you guys right now, and it's impressive. And you're right. I mean, we'll keep doing what we do until everybody can get oil. And I don't think people
Absolutely.
realize that.
I mean,
I'm sorry. Go
people
ahead.
need to know that it is so important that we have this alternative medicine. It really was, what was it, in the 20s and 30s? It was in all medicines.
Sure. Yeah, up until 1937 when we declared the war on cannabis. So we're going to have to cut off to our break here in a couple minutes. I really appreciate you calling. I'm super excited and stoked anytime somebody calls with good news of someone beating cancer with oil.
Yeah, that's amazing.
On small cells that chemo cannot get into.
Well, and just to throw it out there for all the listeners, Google apoptosis, because it's proven, and it's been proven again by my good friend Dr. Robert Melamede, that cannabis does kill cancer.
Yeah, and doctors can, say that things are going to, heal, but it's the testimonies that are really going to make people believe.
Well, let me just say one more thing that
Sure.
I did experience with my husband with small cell cancer, who died very quickly, who did chemo and radiation, and went downhill from the day he started. And when my sister got sick like this, I said, no way, we're going to follow this way. And you know what? It is a huge difference in what I have seen. It's amazing, and I thank God for this.
Well, chemo and radiation are poison. That's all that is they put poison into your body to kill the sick cells. The problem with that is while it's killing your sick cells, it's also killing your healthy cells. And it's also
Absolutely.
degenerating your body. Cannabis actually replenishes everything in your body, rejuvenates things, and protects things. And that's the word that we've got to educate people on. And I thank you so very much for your call. I've got to bid our guests adieu, though, and we're going to take our little halfway break. But please stick around. We've got a great segment coming up the next hour that you may enjoy.
Hey, thank you,
And feel
guys,
free to call us
so
back
much.
sometime.
I appreciate this.
Keep us updated on your sister. Please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, Vince, thank you for making the long drive up to Denver for an hour of fun and dabs and
It was fun.
legal cannabis is your
got
shirt.
that right.
We did it, brother.
Yeah.
One of our chatters, Thurlow Weed, who does another talk show, said he wore that shirt on his show, and you got a couple comments along the way here.
Well, a nice bonus about that is November 6th was my birthday.
Awesome.
So it was kind of like a little birthday gift to me that night.
Dude, I got more involved later on in the campaign, but I was actually stuck in bed at home with 3 dogs, babysitting dogs that night. So I didn't get to come up for the victory celebration, but
Right.
I'm still celebrating.
Right.
So.
It was
We
great.
celebrate all day, every day.
Every day. So after these meetings are over, I'll have a big celebration. It'll all be official and legal and regulated, and everybody will be happy. And
And then we'll keep fighting on.
yes, there's a lot more to do.
Yes.
So right now, Holly knows what time it is. It's
Time to get our backs right here on Overgrow the Radio, iCannabisRadio.com. Peace.
Dixie Elixirs and Edibles, the nation's premier infused product manufacturers, brings you the newest in hemp CBD wellness products, Dixie X. Derived from CBD for medicinal hemp, this non-psychoactive cannabinoid provides the medicinal effects of cannabis, but without the high. Join the Dixie X revolution today at www.dixiex.com or like us on Facebook, Dixie X or Dixie Elixirs.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. Runongrass.com.
The Hemp Connoisseur is Colorado's premier guide to hemp culture. Our mission is to elevate the image of the medical cannabis and hemp industries to create widespread acceptance of the cannabis sativa plant. You can find the latest issue of the Hemp Connoisseur at more than 200 7-Elevens, your favorite dispensary, MMJ doctor offices, and tattered covered bookstores. Do you consider yourself a cannabis connoisseur? Then come be a part of the Hemp Connoisseur's first cannabis championship. Visit us at thcmag.com for info on how to sample the best medicine Colorado has to offer.
The law offices of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
That Mad Hatter Smoke Shop has everything from space glass to butane and butane accessories, I tell you what. Located at 6091 West Colfax in Lakewood, and now at 2615 Walnut Street in Denver. Ah! God damn it, Reclaim, put your pants back on.
The law offices of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
And we're back here on Overgrow the Radio, iCannabisRadio.com. Just had a nice break there, getting our back right. And we would love to thank our sponsors again, and also to promote our other shows here on iCannabis Radio.
We would? Oh, yeah, we do love them. Actually, we love the whole staff here at iCannabis. Let's give a plug to our producers, Sam and Chris. They worked really hard behind the scenes. Sam is all happy because last week he was in and got to immortalize his voice doing a commercial. So he's stoked. We're going to talk maybe at the end after our segment with our next guest to Sam and actually Holly's brother, Kenny G. They got to go to their first ever legal event. Her brother's from Texas, Sam is from PA. And Sam's missed out on a couple because of his age restrictions. So this was his first real venture out. And he even got to wear a pretty cool press badge.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it later in the show.
Yeah, man, we'll get him.
See what they thought of it.
Absolutely. So, yeah, our other shows, Monday Night with Georgia is great. She's sort of like us. She gets political, opinionated, and we love her. And we respect that because that's what we do. Tuesday night's Sex Pot, which is where I met our next guest. That sounded kind of weird. But,
yeah, it was a very formal meeting.
Absolutely. There was not any talk of sexual nature at all.
No, completely PG, and my grandmother got to hear it.
You should tune in for the gospel reading every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. to Jenny Cush. The Gospel of Jenny, if you will.
Yes,
I kind of like that. Maybe I'll pitch on that. Catch line. Wednesday, I think they're on hiatus, but they'll be back soon. iDab Radio. The guys from Top Shelf Extracts come in. And
they're dabbing somewhere.
Well, that's what they do when they're in here, too, really. I love Earl Ripper because he just sits over in the corner and dabs the whole
He is such
show.
a sweetheart.
I know, he was here not too long ago doing the same thing.
Am I on my computer?
No, it's all good.
Oh, okay. And then, we're bringing on new shows. I skipped, actually, our newest show, and she will be mad at me. Jennifer Murray started a show from Can Labs in the lab
nice.
with Jennifer.
I like her.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Good people.
She works hard for everything. Yeah, I caught their first show, which, admittedly, I don't get to watch all the shows as much as I'd like to. And they did great. Her and Allie from Americans for Safe Access. She's her co-host, and forgive me, I don't know her last name. But they're Mondays at, Sam 3? That's
Daytime
what I thought.
show.
Daytime
show. And
show.
you can also listen later because we do put our shows up on YouTube.
We do?
Do we?
I should check that out.
Yes.
Actually, you can go to iCannabisRadio.com to our recorded shows page, and you can catch our shows about an hour after they're up or on. So we get them up pretty quickly for everyone if you miss them.
Listen later.
Absolutely. And I've got a couple more shows in the works. To finish it off, we've got THC, the Hemp Connoisseur Radio, on Thursdays
right
in
before
the afternoon. Us. Yep. And, of course, us. Well, soon to be me.
Overgrow.
Sad. Is that what we're called?
We're overgrowing
I'm
the
just
radio.
Being smart aleck. All right, our next guest is here. We'll bring her in now and actually be productive. Good evening, Jennifer Levine. How are you?
Doing well. Hello.
Hello. So I actually, as I mentioned, I met you. I got to sit in on Sex Pod. I've been trying once in a while to get in on some shows for a little bit. It sounds like I actually missed a good one this week. I don't know if you caught any of her show this week.
I saw some of the after because I think Lunchbox was here. He's one of my artists for Firepower.
I tuned in as they were talking about anal bleaching, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Cleanliness, I suppose.
Next to godliness.
Yep.
So, I don't normally just bring random people in, but you had a story that night. We didn't really talk about sex or pot.
Yeah.
Well, per se, I guess we sort of talked about pot. There's an organization that has come up, and it's a friend of yours' daughter that it's based on. It's called SAFE.
Yeah, it's Synthetic Awareness for Emily. And a friend of mine that I went to college with in 94. That's okay, I'm proud of the age.
I graduated high school in 93.
Oh, there you go. We ripen well. His daughter was 16, and she went to Phillips 66, did not have to use a card, an ID, like you would with cigarettes, bought this stuff called Kush, which is potpourri, and it was in Houston, Texas. She and her friends proceeded to smoke it, as is suggested, even though it says on the deal, like, not for intake or something, as potpourri. Anyway, they smoked it. A couple hours later, she woke up in a psychotic break, including a series of seizures, which led her into ICU and in full restraints. As I said, she was 16. She went ahead and her family didn't know what to do. Later on, the doctors were able to, like, through CT scans, understand that through those 3 days, she was having more seizures. They thought it was just the beginning, and then they were working from there. By the end of the week, the CT scan had said that her brain was 70% dead, and that if she was to revive, they didn't know what to expect. This was in December. Wow. And so then... I'd heard rumors through the industry, like you hear the trickle down, third hand, and people's faces and all this other weird, like, random stuff, and you're like, this makes no sense. But this was something that was directly related with my friend and his daughter, and it just was scary.
I'm going to make you digress for a minute because some people may not know what we're talking about.
It's synthetic, yeah.
We had a caller a minute ago sporadically from North Carolina. It was great. I don't know if you caught that. Folks in states where you can't get cannabis, more so, turn to these alternatives, if you will. And they have names like Kush
or fake weed.
Yeah, and it's potpourri, and they say the name Kush, that's what... Before we saw the packaging, which I have a picture of the packaging, before we saw the packaging, when I was talking with my friend's wife, it's her stepdaughter anyway. When I was talking with her, she was looking up Kush, and she was seeing the marijuana strain. Had no idea that it was this synthetic. So she heard Kush. So this is very much interplayed. They're using the name. It's very much part of our industry, which is very, very sad.
Yeah, and if you go to glass art shows, I know they're almost like every other booth is, the fake weed and other herbs.
And people are using it not only when they can't have it legal, but then also if she was going to be looking for a job. So she's like, I'm going to get drug tested, doesn't show up on drug testing. And so that was her rationale, and the accessibility, her being in Houston, Texas. So it's just, it just absolutely is scary to me.
Texas.
So
that's
I
where
just came
Holly's
from.
I'm from Dallas.
I just was in Houston a couple weeks ago, and I medicated, but I was very cautious about it.
Yeah.
Proudly.
I'm disabled. I figure the way that I look at that, obviously I would never turn to an alternative. Mm-hmm. The way that I look at that is if a cop really wants to arrest me for taking my medicine.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go in front of a judge and explain how I went through a back surgery and I wake up every day and can't move unless I use my oil.
Yeah.
And ask him how do you expect me to travel?
Yeah, seated long periods of time. I just, with her situation, they ended up making the decision as far as quality of life.
Sure.
And so basically on a Sunday, she was given 2 hours to live. And her birthday, her 17th birthday, was on a Wednesday. They had the memorial service set up on her 17th birthday. Her being so young, her body rallied, and she survived. So now she's in rehab. She's still blind. She sees splotches of color. She has casts on both legs. to stretch up her calf muscles because she's suffering atrophy. Sorry, I've got the head cold. I'm trying to get there. Excuse
me. We'll get you through it pretty easily.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get you some water if needed.
I've got the Diet Pepsi. But excuse me. Thank you. So yeah, they've got that. They're daily trying to pick her up. She has full paralysis, but she does have sensory perception. So if somebody touches her, she can feel that. And I mean, my main thing is, when you're a kid, you experiment. You try to find your boundaries in life. You try to figure out your place in the world. And there are ramifications for poor decisions. And this was a poor decision, but the ramifications should not be terminal.
Right, and they say it's legal.
Yes.
So, and it's just like salvia and other things, there's so many different fake weeds out there. You don't know what's in it unless you're seriously researching it.
Well,
and kids don't do that.
And that hospital was the third. That was mid-December, the third occurrence that fucking month.
Well, and that's what I want to talk about, too,
occurrence
above and beyond her story. I totally want to go into that because that's just it. Like I was saying, these people turn to this in these other states primarily, and you don't know what's in it. There is no oversight. What it is, it's what you said, it's potpourri, and it's
a mixture of herbs that they find that
sprayed
get you high.
Or soaked, and
that are legal.
And have adhesives on them. And you don't even what? Seriously? And to have that immediate a reaction.
And I know, I believe, have we banned those here?
No,
are we
well,
one
not
of the
all
states?
of them. They
get
slowly are
around it.
banning different ones.
Sure.
Yeah. But you can still find certain things. They even
I
make
know there's
herbal
some
ecstasies
states
that they're having same issues with.
Yeah.
And salvia it's too much for most people.
And usually it's just a fine if they're caught selling it. So even in the states where they're more strict and they've said all herbal supplements, people still sell them.
Yeah.
I think, I want to say Virginia is one of those states. And when I was there, I went in some little, the gas stations with the bars, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
You've got your little pipe section and your soda.
The oil burners.
Yeah. They had it. They had a huge selection of it. And I actually questioned the guy if it was legal to sell it. And he got really pissed at me. So that's why I'm guessing it's probably one of the states where it's not.
It's a gray area still in a lot of states. So.
And then they'll take it back and change it up just a little bit and then put it back on the market. There's no, that's why I'm proud as far as the site, the Safe Awareness for Emily. They're having people where it's firsthand accounts she's reposting a couple times a day, where it's anonymous, but it's firsthand accounts. They've gotten so much exposure for this. And that's what I haven't heard. And I mean, I think I would hear a lot of these stories, sales calls and just in the industry and stuff. And I had never heard this direct.
Well, I mean, I'm on their Facebook page and they have 6,500 likes. Maybe we could learn from them.
Yeah.
For this
they've only been
organization,
they've only been open maybe a month.
That's amazing.
And what's the Facebook page again? How can people
Safe.
find it?
All capital letters. SAFE.
Facebook.com/safe.
Ooh, God, you're asking me for real web address.
I think it's Safe
for Emily.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the number 4.
Okay.
So I think we're going to, speaking of thinking, I think we're going to pay some bills, and then I think we'll come back for one more segment with you, if your voice will hold out.
I'm hanging in there.
We'll
I
get
can
you
do
through
it.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the dangers and why you should just, dangers of cannabis alternatives and why you should just stick to cannabis on Overgrow the Radio. We'll be right back. Peace.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. Runongrass.com.
The law offices of Edson, Maiden, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Let's face face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
That Mad Hatter Smoke Shop has everything from space glass to butane and butane accessories, I tell you what. Located at 6091 West Colfax in Lakewood, and now at 2615 Walnut Street in Denver. Ah! God damn it, Reclaim, put your pants back on.
And I guess we're back on Overgrow the Radio.
Hello.
I've been so caught off guard tonight, Holly G, on all these breaks.
We're keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, well, someone needs to. So I was just talking about next week's show. We're going to have AJ from At Home Bake in, and I think he's gifting the show a box of brownies.
Woohoo!
Sam
He's
was
such good people. Like, I can't say that enough. I enjoy the heck out of
There's
that guy.
so many good people in our industry.
Oh, ridiculously
Even the ones of
fabulous.
us who are pompous asses like myself, we still have our good sides.
You wear it well, man.
Thank
you
you,
wear
thank
it
you.
well.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's sponsoring my next event, and so are the guys at Top Shelf, too.
Nice.
They're
Those
sweet-
guys are great, as
sweet
I mentioned.
guys,
They do
yeah.
a show here. Dan actually threw me a nice little chunk of concentrate the other night at the event. he wanted a doobie and didn't have flour, and I only had like enough for a doobie. And he's like, I'll trade you. So I gave him my doobie, and I'm pretty sure I got at least a gram of concentrate. That's a pretty fair trade, I'd say.
Yeah, and all that free cannabis and wax and everything that was there already.
Oh, yeah. Our next segment, real quick, we're
absurd.
going to get into that a little bit. For the folks who don't know what that's like, we're going to get a perspective from two out-of-staters, their first ever meet and greet, if you will, patient
Deliciousness.
party. Oh, yeah. So let's get back into it with Miss Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, this organization formed out of the tragedy, if you will. What are they doing? Are they...
Well, she's really focusing on getting her daughter back and just getting the word out. And if you see, like, some of the followings and stuff, she's actually got, like, their elementary schools and schools are actually involved where the teachers are reading this and telling the kids and everything. There just hasn't been a platform. And, I mean, with the amount of likes, as you saw, I think there's definitely a demand. And I have never been political because I make functional art. I've been in the glass blowing deal almost 13 years now. And I make functional art, and I'm like, that's what Firepower is about. It's about bringing art to the masses. They can understand things in real time. But when I heard this story, when I saw the pictures, I was like, I have to start saying something about it. It's time.
I'm a bleeding heart, too.
Yeah. I mean, well, and not just at that age, you should experiment and have fun with life. And it just, the idea that it was nearly terminal and now she's going to have repercussions the rest of her life just breaks my heart. And there are no ramifications for these people that aren't letting people know what their product is doing to people. Like that just,
It's like the bath salts. That was
Yeah.
legal. That's not, that's another type of chemical that they were creating and putting in stores at other, like I was mentioning, glass blowing events
Yeah.
I've been to in Vegas, Champs. I found something one of the tables had. It was like a powder. It looked like methamphetamine.
Yeah.
And some of the people there had tried it, and they said it was like methamphetamine. And this is a legal thing they're putting on the shelf with salvia and those other.
Yeah, a lot of my
berries.
accounts have pulled all those off the shelf for
Yeah.
that reason because they're
I
like,
hope so.
I'm not going to flip. Yeah.
On that
horrible.
note,
Yeah.
I recently was, I guess, bored, if you will. So I'm reading all these
When do you have
articles.
time?
Yeah, exactly. I think I was trying to fall asleep. I have a terrible insomnia problem that plagues me. But, I'm reading random stuff on the internet and ran across an article about the connection or the supposed connection to bath salts and zombies.
Lovely.
Zombies.
I always try to get home before dark.
Right. Well, we all know there's been some flesh-eating incidents, but I didn't realize how many, like in the last couple of years. Like there's been this ridiculous spike of people eating people's faces.
And you hear that, and with no connect, you're like, because I started hearing that like 3 years ago, and I'm like, I have no idea where this is coming from. And unless you know the people, what?
I mean, the last real cannibalism I heard of was Jeffrey Dahmer, and that was in the 90s?
Yeah. Okay.
And now all of a sudden
there's
we've
a good
got
barometer.
people eating faces. And who knows if there is a connection between that and the bath salts. I mean, that's a different topic, obviously, but kind of one and the same in that, it's a new trend, and these kids are out there doing these things, like you said, experimenting, and they're using these horrible, horrible chemicals without knowing repercussions.
Aren't those stories like the main barometer there? So many of these stories. Psychotic breaks. People feeling threatened, so they're threatening the people around them. Just complete psychotic breaks. Never mind the other like seizures and stuff, like the personal health, but they are just no grasp of reality. And they do eventually come down from it, but to go through that, and for some people in these stories, they're like, oh, well, it only happened once. Like, how can you have that kind of thing and it only happened once and be like, oh, well, we can do that again?
Absolutely.
Who does that?
Well, and someone in our chat here says everything should be legal. And I'm just going to say...
Freedom.
I agree with that per se.
Yeah.
What I agree with is our government should not tell me what to put in my body. That being said, what you're doing right now on the show, education,
yes,
warnings, I'm not for legalizing or making everything illegal. On the flip side of that, obviously I'm sitting in a group making regulations right now. So I believe regulation is needed and good. I think let's just all have a free-for-all, that's just not realistic.
I've always felt that any of that stuff has to do with education. I mean, from the get. I'm from Texas. My dad collects guns. This is how you shoot them. This is how you know what they are. They no longer are harm to your family.
They respect them.
Yeah.
Like I'm from Arlington, and I have an 8-year-old brother, and he has already gone through the gun classes.
Yes.
And he goes hunting with my stepdad all the time, but he knows and respects guns, and he would never pick one up when there was no, if one was accidentally left somewhere, he would not touch it.
Well,
and would know what a safety is, and would know, there is a big
it.
difference when you have things in the marketplace and you don't know what they are.
Yeah,
like, that's just unexcusable.
Guns, I always shock people because I have a concealed carry permit.
Yeah.
I don't carry a gun very often at all, but same thing, I grew up with guns. I was a long-haired hippie until a week ago, and when I'm out backpacking or something, my friends are always like, what, you have a gun? And to me it's not like we grew up,
culturally
we hunted, we ate what we killed, you know what I mean? We didn't just go out and shoot street signs and with our AK-47s, I don't know. I'm so mixed on some of the topics out there, but I think, not to get too sidetracked, I think all of this comes back to a parenting issue. Not only a parenting issue, but society as a whole. Unfortunately, it's just us sitting around this table with a limited audience talking about this.
Yeah.
Something I do want to hit on, and we've got a little bit of time yet, but the fact that it's not taught in schools like it should be. Like we teach our kids, or to a certain extent nowadays, that cannabis is bad still, even though we know that cannabis is a non-toxic therapeutic medicine.
Well, I mean, you and I were around Reaganomics and all that stuff. I mean, it was the war against drugs, and way before that, and then you had this as your brain on drugs with the eggs and all that stuff. I mean, it's the dialogue is changing. And the thing that's been most interesting watching this industry, I mean, it was illegal for me to make functional art 12, 13 years ago when I got started. Tommy Chong went to jail 2 years after I got going.
Yeah.
And the dynamic that's changed is both the dialogue, but then also people are listening.
Sure.
And that's a big difference. And to see that this is happening without big protests, but in a very educated, very approachable manner, is just something to be proud of.
Well, I helped organize. Sorry, I think I cut my co-host off. I'm sorry. I helped organize Occupy down south in the Springs, and I'm all for, hey, let's change shit now and get it done. But I'm also realistic in that the old saying, you have to work within the system to change the
Yes.
system. It's unfortunate, but even folks like me have to go get a haircut and put on a tie once in a while, and that's the way to get things done. I would love, and we're going to talk some more, obviously. We've got a good 10 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
But, I would love to see, you guys embark as an organization on an education campaign once things are settled down,
And I'll talk with her. I mean, it's my friend's child's mother, so I haven't formally met her, but I've been keeping tabs and everything. And I'll talk with her and see. And I already told her with my events are coming up in April, I would be more than happy to pass out more information and literature about it. And she's done a phenomenal job, knowing what it is as far as doing my production company and all this other stuff, knowing what it is to get a word out and how difficult it is for people to listen, and to actually have these people sending in because they finally feel safe to be able to send in their stories. It's a lovely platform.
Well, and
It's
that's
really awesome.
I mean, that's something to overcome, as a lot of people are very private.
Yeah.
I got an email the other day asking me what the 7 big cases were that were won in El Paso County this year, and I had to think about it because there were 3 of them that never even came public.
Wow.
So even when things are big, a lot of times you don't hear about them. This is definitely a big issue, and I think my whole reason for highlighting this tonight, it's obviously a little bit different than our normal political track, if you will. But I'm a parent, and a lot of the people I work with are parents. I don't know that anyone here is besides me. Sam's a parent. What are you, 20? Yeah. He's still a kid. So for me, it's more a parenting thing. I mean, I see these things that happen to these young kids, and it saddens me. Again, it goes back to these things are not being taught by teachers. There's no. This is where an organization like this coming up could go into the classrooms and do workshops. They could educate the teachers and let them pass that information on.
And we're totally laying the foundation for the next generation. I get in conversations, shall we use the term loosely. One dear, good glass-blowing friend in particular, if he's listening, he knows who I'm talking about. But I get in conversations all the time as to, with firepower. I'm like, nobody's allowed to create functional art in real time. You can sell as much as you want, but I want people to see the traditional art forms as far as glass is concerned and make the correlation that these are the same artists making this. Then they understand it's functional art. And it's changing that didactic. It's reaching across the board. It's educating. So, I mean, I don't want to go so far as to say, the tribe raises the kids and whatever. But, I mean, if you're changing your relationship with the general populace in those manners, then you've got more of an outreach. I mean, I'd prefer to not sell at one store. I want firepower to go national. I've got to respect that I'm from Texas. This isn't going to fly in Texas. That's all there is to it. But it will eventually.
Well,
at the same time, we're slowly making that progress. And that's what, when they see everything online with the live glass blowing, they don't see any functional art.
You just can't ship them, I believe, to Pennsylvania or Iowa. And before we get out of time...
To have an audience, though, too. I mean, that's doing the dialogue, cutting the hair. I bathe, so that's anti-hippie, right?
Well, you don't stink too bad.
No, hippie
before we run out of time,
I thank you kindly.
We do have another segment we're doing tonight. For if I didn't highlight it in the beginning, we're going to talk to a couple folks about their first cannabis-free cannabis experience. So we will have to take one more break, but I want to talk about your business real quick. We had some of your colleagues in a couple of weeks ago and did a glass show with a bunch of glass all laid out.
Oh, Swagger?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good people. Those people.
So plug your business for us, and then we're going to ask you about it a little bit.
I do my own line, but my main baby is Firepower Productions, and my whole thing is community outreach, is community education, which goes in line with me talking about other things as well. Through doing the live traditional arts in non-traditional gallery spaces, we reach a broader demographic than we would if we just go to galleries. And it's also that demographic as far as clubs, like Castleman's is a business partner venue. Marley's is going to be my next event place on April 13th. Through going to those places, we're reaching demographic that probably got their art budget cut.
Sure.
And they don't necessarily understand what goes into the time and the effort and the skill set. I mean, it's one thing to say this took me X amount of time to do, and that's why I'm worth this, and you're investing in me when you purchase my stuff. But it's another thing to see it manifesting. And when somebody sees a blank canvas, I've got graffiti artists, tattoo artists, airbrush artists, pen and ink, oil painters, chalk, body painters, and then glass blowing, of course. And when somebody sees a blank canvas and then sees it change over a series of an event into an actual piece, they're like, oh my gosh, where do they start from there? When they just see the end product, they're like, hold it. This is really cool. I really like it, but what's this cost, you know? And so, especially with the glass blowing, I just set up the blow torches, and we all do a living collab. And I'm like, the more the merrier, as many glass blowers as possible. And also, we've got, as this is broadening and being more legal as far as the functional arts concerned, China and India are coming to the door, you know.
Nice.
We really need them to see that we aren't China and India. They need to invest in the artists, local, you know. So that's what Firepower is about.
Well, China has the money to buy expensive pipes. I believe they're, have they surpassed us yet in being the richest country?
I thought they've been past us for a while.
They may. Yeah, I think so.
They're feeding a lot more
Either
mouths.
way,
We've spent a lot of money.
Either
in
way,
the
our
United
economy
States.
sucks. And well, I know, like,
Right?
I was trying to think of exact stats. I know, like, they have the most millionaires now in the world.
That makes sense. They're so smart with business, you know. They don't even care about small talk, right to business.
Well, their economy makes us look like crap. It is kind of a coal-based economy, so it's not really the best for the environment at this point at all. But
Lots
they
of
are-
LEDs.
Oh, God, they're making money. Making
I want that
money.
for one of our chandeliers. Invest in us.
So, besides the Facebook page, is there a web page or anything, or can
We
folks
have
just
our
follow
fan
on
site.
Facebook and?
Yeah, Firepower Productions is our fan site, and we've got that. We've got a Twitter as well, and I believe that's Firepower Denver. My name's Jennifer S. Levine. If there are any glassblowers who are interested in participating, please for sure hit me up. I'm around town. I'm in Denver. I'm local to Denver, and I'm always open to like emails and all that stuff. So, like I said, the more the merrier. I'm working on the 420 obviously coming up, but we are Miguel's like 420 team, so we will be performing live glass blowing to the left side of the stage all day Friday and Saturday during the 420 rally at Civic Center Park.
Well, I won't hold it against you that you won't be at my rally in DC, but that's okay.
Oh, you know what? I'll crash in your luggage, man.
Cool.
Well,
I'll
I'll find somebody else take care of
If I
that.
go,
I'll go
I'm
ahead
literally
and-
flying back that night to do the High Times Cup the next day,
Oh,
so I
wow.
won't be in DC long.
It's going to be a crazy because I believe that night I'm going to try and be sending out 4 teams to go to different venues that night as well. So I want everybody to see my artists. They're freaking amazing, and they're their own artists, but I'm
Absolutely.
just like, I'm so proud to have the people that have got involved with what's going on.
Well, maybe in the future down the road we'll do a joint venture. I like to use that term.
Oh, yeah. But at the
Get some artists out, and we'll get you out to one of our broadcasts and have some fun.
April 13th, man.
Yes.
We will be doing that all day, so you're more than welcome.
And I encourage folks, as we talked about in the first part of the segment, to follow Safe for Emily on Facebook. It's the number 4. It's an awareness that we need to bring to our schools and educators especially. These are the type of things young kids. I experimented with just about everything you can imagine, and then some.
Yeah.
So, I've been there, and I probably was lucky to live a few times, and that's honest.
Yeah.
But, had I had these things in my hands, maybe I wouldn't be here. So it's important that we all teach our kids right and do right by them. So thank you again for coming in. We're going to pay bills one more time, and then we're going to get my producer, our producer, on the air, and Holly G's brother, and talk some trash. We'll be right back on Overgrow the Radio.
Peace.
That Mad Hatter Smoke Shop has everything from space glass to butane and butane accessories, I tell you what. Located at 6091 West Colfax in Lakewood, and now at 2615 Walnut Street in Denver. God damn it, Reclaim, put your pants back on.
Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our two locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
And I guess we're back already. I thought I'd have time to sneak in a bowl real quick, but I didn't. But that's okay because, I'll sober up and be in pain until I drive home. So in case I go through Greenwood Village and they want to hassle me. So we're going to do something different for the last part of our show.
Get down to the real nitty gritty of the cannabis users.
Do you want to introduce these guys?
Out there. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to chat with, these guys because they are regular cannabis users and support the cause and, see everything how it is from a different perspective than we do on the radio. So it'll be nice to see their feedback as first-time pop party goers
at
the Cannapages event.
Yes.
Via AJ, who did an awesome job. AJ Hashman.
And Cannapages.
Yes,
we love them.
Cannapages. They do great work. And so they had a 3-year anniversary or 3-year birthday party. Huge 4 or 5 layer cake, fully medicated. Over 500 pieces were cut out of it, and everyone got one. Everyone got probably 3 or 4, actually.
I got to meet the baker. She was pretty cool.
Yeah, it had a huge pot leaf on the top. It was green and white. I think we have some photos of it. Maybe we'll get it up in a little while. And it was great. Lots of good community. Everyone was super nice. So I'd love to hear. We have Kenny G, my younger brother. How's it going, Kenny?
Good.
And we're actually going to bring our awesome producer, Sam, onto the mic. He doesn't come on the mic very often, so
He just has to put himself on camera because he's shy.
Oh, I got to put myself on camera.
Put yourself on camera.
Yeah, you can take the camera off of Holly and I. We get enough.
Yeah.
So, you guys, this was actually, we've always had patient parties here in Colorado. That means if you're a red holder, you could always go to events like this once a month. Personally, this is one of the biggest events I've seen, minus the High Times Cup.
600 people.
Over,
in and
I
out
think,
the door.
Yeah. You guys came in, really moved at the right time. These are now public if you're over 21, if you will. If you're a patient, obviously Sam's under 21. He got in. So first, where are you guys from?
I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. Actually, just moved up here about a week ago. So still adapting to the mountain scenery and the new people. And
Sam, where are you from?
I'm from Pennsylvania, right out of near Philadelphia.
How long have you been here?
Since August. I just moved here this August. So
you guys are just freshmen.
So I don't know about you, Holly, but here's my take on that. Sam's from a state that I've hiked through many, many times, and the only cannabis I can find there is browner than our tabletop here at the studio.
Swag!
Kenny G, Texas, man. Texas. That's all I got to say. It's fucking Texas.
They get chronic in Texas. It's just like $60 an eighth.
They just get shot by the police when they find it in your car. That's all. Exactly. I have good friends in Texas. I love a lot of Texans. Nothing against the people of Texas. The policy there towards drugs is draconian.
Horrible.
Until it changes, I'll call them out for that all day. So, whoever starts, I don't care. I just want to know, each of you, what's your impression? What'd you think of the party? What was it like to come into a state and all of a sudden you have cannabis all around you legally?
It was awesome. It was a big change because in Texas it's really, can't do, they put their foot down when it comes to cannabis, and to be able to hang out with a lot of medical patients and smoke all the medical marijuana and see all the glass and.
Oh no, that was recreational. That was perfectly legal recreational.
That wasn't
marijuana.
medical?
No, it was not.
It was medical.
Not for your brother. It was medical for Sam. Now that's the tricky part because, and I'll get to that. He's under 21.
I have my card.
Yeah, it was both for me. That's the way I look at that. There's that level where it's above medicated and it turns into recreational. You know what I mean? And that night it got above the medical level.
So, what was your most memorable moment of the night?
Well, I didn't stay there until 12 because I just was still a little bit too medicated. And the most memorable, I don't know, meeting all the people. Taking fantastic dabs and probably the most memorable was the butter that the Can of Pages guys made because that was delicious. It was delicious, and I actually have the recipe for it. Hopefully
what about
they gave
you,
it to
Kenny
me.
G?
Yeah, just like he said, the butter was really good, and also the brownies he made as well were
Cousin
really,
D?
Cousin D made. were
Cousin
really good.
D, you got to watch that guy. Let me tell you a quick story about him on a side note. He brings cookies in one time. He used to come to our studio a lot. He's like, here, have a cookie. So after I eat the whole thing, he's like, oh, there's a half gram of hash in each cookie.
Surprise!
A friend of ours at the time who was interning at the studio also had not even a whole cookie, I think a half. And we're like, where'd she go? She's gone. Her car's out front. Where is she? So, we looked for her for an hour, and literally in our old office, we had these cubicles back in the corner. Finally, we found her passed out up in a cubicle. And 6 hours later, I ended up driving her home. That's Cousin D. So,
that means it's good.
So, yeah. I mean...
What about for you? I want to ask you, Stickman, what was your most memorable moment of the night?
Ooh, wow.
These are memorable full nights, but I know there's always moments that stick in your mind.
You put me on the spot.
Haha.
I think one moment, God, I don't know.
Coolest moment?
The coolest part of the night for me is being able to go through these events and seeing so many people I know that I don't get to see a lot. You know, I saw the Weed Pimps, who are good friends of mine from down south. We're going to give them a quick plug before we peel out for the night. But, I hadn't seen them in months. And it's not from lack of wanting to. It's just we all get busy in life. And I guess one moment's really hard for me right on the spot. But, I mean, for me, that was the best part. You know, I don't go out often. I'm not really a nightlife person. I'd rather go hiking during the day and go home and sleep at night. And when I do, it's good to make it worthwhile and actually be able to see people, not to sound too sappy.
Yeah, no, that's totally a great reason to go, is to gather and, meet with friends. And I think the most memorable moment of the night for me was being able to go up to a bud bar and have a menu of 40 different strains, bringing my bowl up and being able to have it filled by a bud bar attendant who filled it all the way full to the top. It wasn't a partial bowl or a one hitter.
Yeah, that's pretty
It was
amazing.
like a gram bowl.
Yeah, I had an older lady do that for me. She cashed it because I had nowhere to cash it, and I'm not going to cash it on the ground.
They had bowlers.
Yeah, she packed it up and said, here you go.
I joked at the beginning of the night that I've been to probably 10 meet and greets, I guess. I've never made it to the bud bar. I always just end up smoking with people and never get there.
Well, there was makeshift bud bars all over the place.
Well, here's Here's the problem with that is I totally intended to go to the big bud bar, and I got so medicated I may have forgotten.
Like, which one's the bud bar?
Yeah. There was really, for people who don't go, did you guys venture to the balcony? Did you see the huge blunts they were raffling off up there?
I got henna.
Nice. We were above that. We had our little quote-unquote VIP section up on the balcony for a bit.
We visited you there for sure.
I'm going to guess that neither of you's ever been to an event before in any state where it's just been open cannabis use like that.
No, it was really like a dream, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was shocked at first. I mean, you can smoke anywhere, and that was weird to me. Is there a place I gotta go?
It's kind of unbelievable.
Do I need to hide this?
Yeah.
The cool part was cigarette smokers have to go outside.
I know.
Haha.
It's on my list this year of not killing myself anymore, I promise. To Sam's point, one of the first events I ever went to up here was, and at Castleman's, and they make you smoke outside on the patio. So I'm out there with a couple friends of mine, actually Jason Love, who was here earlier, and we're passing, I think, a joint, and I look over and there's 2 uniformed cops standing like 2 foot from me, and I was like, oh fuck, my first reaction is prohibitionist state. I gotta hide this, or I gotta eat this or something, and they just stood there and didn't say a word.
They don't care.
And we just continued smoking. And technically, to clarify, it's not legal to smoke outside in public. For those watching,
It's not.
Let me make that clear. I don't know. Denver's different. There are cities in Colorado that are much more tolerant than others.
Not in plain view.
Yeah, that's not something I would suggest doing in Colorado Springs.
No.
Not unless you want to get
Keep
tackled
moving.
and
Don't
thrown
stay
in
in
a
one
cage.
place.
So, guys, you guys both live here now. I mean, what are your overall thoughts on moving from prohibitionist states? I'm especially interested in this guy on this question because Sam really jumped into this industry very quickly, if you will, and I don't know that it was really planned. So I want to get your thoughts on how it is to be Coloradoans.
Well, for me, I came from Pennsylvania, and marijuana is still there. It's expensive, but it's there. And then coming here, I was going to school out there, and I realized that I didn't want to do what I was doing. I wanted to be in the cannabis industry, so I moved here, and now I'm going for business to be a successful business person. It's just, it's what it's fantastic. There's dispensaries. I have a red card. I go in there. It's cheaper here. But you have tax, which I love paying. I love paying tax to help out this state. I just can't see myself moving out of the state. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah, well, for me, it's kind of like culture shock. I can remember a year and a half, 2 years ago in Texas, we were paying $75 an eighth.
Jesus.
And it's
an eighth?
An eighth.
Holy shit.
It's gone down to 60 now, and some people get it 50. And so coming here and getting it 20, 25, 35 is kind of cool. And I mean,
so actually, now you're a resident. You can grow your 6 plants from today and never pay for cannabis ever again.
Yeah.
But you can only have 3 mature ones, so make sure you follow their guidelines.
Unless he gets his card.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my card.
Nice.
So hopefully.
Well, and there's been a big argument in our meetings that the medical side is going to fall off. I don't know if I agree with that because there's so many benefits to being a patient here in Colorado.
Yeah, I won't stop being a patient.
No, me neither. When I turn 21, I plan on keeping my red card.
Well, I think the big thing for me is just making the statement. Like, we're here. The more people are scared to be on a list. I got news for you. You're probably already on a list.
Yeah.
Most of us are these days.
That list protects you.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody can see that list. People, and most doctors, including like the THC Foundation, will fight to the death to not, they will not give your information out.
Well, and too, that's at this point anyway, it's just a recommendation. So it's not even a prescription. Right. It's not on your quote-unquote permanent record. It's kind of like your doctor telling you to go get a massage.
Yeah.
Here's a recommendation. I'm writing you out for a massage. It's the same thing. I hope through our work and someday we are able to reschedule. And again, I'm going to make our chatter mad, but regulate and treat it like the medicine that it is. We'll get there. So, guys,
thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
It was nice to get your feedback and
thank you for asking.
Hear what you think as newbies here in Colorado.
We've got like 2 minutes. Let's talk about some events coming up.
Well, and I want to also go back and give a plug to one of our early in the show guests, Vince Hansen. Definitely go check out his website, Eagles Nest Wellness Center. So Eagles with an S, Nest Wellness Center. And I'll post it up in the chat, too. So check out Eagles Nest Wellness Center in Cascade, Colorado.
And then on February 3rd, Club 64 at the Roxy here in Denver. Super Bowl Sunday. Do you like that voice? I don't even watch football. I'm trying, though. I would rather go to this than watch the Super Bowl. That's just me. It's from 4 to 10. It's a members-only event. I believe they're still taking memberships.
It's $30.
$30. And you can go smoke cannabis recreationally.
And it's a one-night membership.
And it's
you can get a monthly, but you still have to pay to get in, even though you're a member. It's like $10, I think.
Sure. And it's owned by Mr. Corey, who I'm sure if you did have any problems, he'd be happy to charge you another few $100s an hour and go to court for you. No, Rob's a great guy. We're gonna get him and Chloe on soon to talk about the club. I talked to her the other night, and these things intrigue me. I love them. I wish I would have had the money to open one first. Club 710 down in the Springs, more friends of mine. The Weed Pimps are part of that conglomerate. MMJ Farm, Sarah's Teas, all kinds of folks down there came together for that one. And kudos to them because that's Dan Mays County, and to come out and do that right away, takes cojones. So make sure to check them out. I think their next event, and this I'm not completely sure, but I think it's February 4th, the day after the Super Bowl. And I'm not sure if they have a fixed venue or if that changes, but you can find both events on Facebook and follow them. And I encourage you, if you're in Colorado and over 21, to go enjoy yourself.
Yes, and support the cause, spread the word, and, keep medicating all the time.
And maybe someday you'll all be legalized like Holly and I.
Woo-hoo!
And for now, we're going to go so I can finish this bowl. Until next week, I have to get my words of wisdom. First off, goodbye, Holly. We're going to miss you. We love you. Anytime. Again, thank you for everything you've done since you've been here. We've talked tonight about how nice it is here in Colorado and how everything's legal and happy, and you don't get thrown in a can for cannabis, and talk to these guys about what it's like to come from a state where you do. I guess we can all get there is my point. What it takes is the lady calling in from North Carolina. You have to come out of that closet. You have to not be scared. It's still okay to talk. You can talk about cannabis. You can tell your neighbors how it's not harmful. Until we all have the courage to do that, this won't end. So if you're in a state where you want it to end, that's all you got to do is talk. Till next week, I love you. We'll see you then. Peace.
Hi, I'm Josh Stanley.
And I'm Jesse Stanley.
Two of the brothers here from National Geographic's American Weed, and we'd like to invite you to come into our dispensaries in Colorado Springs. Come in for the most pure organic strain selection in Colorado. It's all hand-grown by the Stanley brothers, especially for our patients. So come in and visit us at our two locations, East Platte and West Colorado. And remember,
always be kind to each other.
That Mad Hatter Smoke Shop has everything from space glass to butane and butane accessories, I tell you what. Located at 6091 West Colfax in Lakewood, and now at 2615 Walnut Street in Denver. Ah! God damn it, Reclaim, put your pants back on.
Dixie Elixirs, the patient's choice for alternative medical marijuana treatment, brings you Dixie Botanicals all-natural topical therapy, including massage oil, pain relief salve, and our newest product, Dixie Botanicals Pain Relief Lotion. This all-natural lotion pairs beautifully with Dixie Botanicals bath salt for a deeply relaxing experience with no psychotropic effect. Like us on Facebook, Dixie Elixirs, or join us at www.dixieelixirs.com.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.